So,
yeah, if you don't mind, maybe might start from some special situation from China. Yeah, also, of course, China's compliance environment and the situation. Actually, the organization, the chart you summarized, the key structure is almost similar with what we operate during our daily work. But China's thing, I think, is a little special. At first, the environment. You know, China is the corruption, high-risk country, of course, also have very complicated and also unstable enforcement risk from the authorities. Yeah, that's, I think, the special thing different with the U.S. and the Europe country. Like Denmark is already very clean. I think the people are already cultivated and they all live in that very clean environment.
Denmark, yes.
Yeah.
Europe, no. Denmark is
sure. I think U.S.
1/4 of Beijing. I think that I'm certainly that there are like 5 million people in Beijing who are not corrupt. And we can talk a lot about Denmark. But it's a special situation. As I said, I'm coming from Greece. And Greece is the same levels with China. And Italy also, and France also. I mean, the biggest scandals are coming from German companies. Siemens, Daimler, all of them.
For the corruption environment and the risk, from Chinese perspective, we always think U.S. are superficial clean. They focus more on the paperwork and the documentation side on the corruption. They consider if they could document very transparency and have a proper documentation and records on that. Yeah, like a settlement with DOJ, they would got seem a very improved mechanism on that. To be honest, China, the compliance this area there was lead by the foreign companies, the first batch foreign companies in China. They imported this concept of compliance and also corruption risk from U.S. and Europe, also based on the FCPA. Before that, even the China criminal law have that corruption-related definition and punishment. Actually, China government didn't give too much attention on that part. Only in the past 10 years, I think, you already know that due to the political reason, the anti-corruption fight are more and more aggressive within China. So that's also the recent 10 years, China local companies and the government authorities pay more attention on this area. Before that, all the compliance and the corruption only operate in the foreign invested companies in China. It started from the finance control side and then extended to legal review and control side. Then already have relatively advanced compliance organization even maybe all foreign invested companies in China, and then extended to some China state-owned company and some private, even some small private company. But they're focused mainly on financial fraud, not corruption side. The China state-owned company have some special department focus on or internal organization on corruption side, but not have relation to the FCPA risk. Yeah, only the U.S. listed company, also like PetroChina, they have to comply with the FCPA requirement, so they also set up something like that. Based on my experience, before I work in the current company, I was working in Ernst & Young, the forensic accounting department. In that, I think around 3 years, mainly my projects or engagements are related to FCPA risk assessment and some specific FCPA investigation against some individual personnel or some department or big teams, not only in pharmaceutical industry, also from manufacturing or even energy or U.S. companies. I helped their headquarters in US to investigate or assess the local affiliates in China about their FCPA compliance. So based on my experience and observation on these companies, maybe you already know the DOJ's requirement on the, and also OIG of the DOJ, they have a requirement on 7 elements, structure and setup for the compliance organization, the culture design, like from the front side to from the preventive control side, then to detective control side, like the assessment. Maybe I would narrow to the 7 elements one by one, from the evaluation and assessment of external compliance risk, and then policy design, and then training and communication inside all the organization, and then monitoring activities, and then auditing programs, and at the last cycle is the investigation part, and then sanction and the disciplinary related part, and then the last part then go back to the first one, integrated to the policy and internal control and training part. It makes the whole cycle. In our companies, also maybe some details different, but in general, the structures still follow the DOJ's OIG guidance on 7 elements. The companies I have been experienced, some have a different organization reporting line of the compliance function. Some report to legal, some report to finance. Some have very independent compliance reporting line directly to the maybe GM of all the affiliates in China, or even the whole company. Yeah, but basically they all have a relatively independent line directly to the top management. And then this part could sometimes a dotted line to the local affiliate GM and the direct reporting line to the global compliance function. But like you have described like this, the compliance function is still in the middle communication layer, and I think they are the key task force for compliance work, communication, and monitoring work. And when you speak about organization part, I think maybe you mean all the line of business. Yeah.
This part also includes this one. It's just, I mean, for convenience reasons, I have it here. But what sort of information do you get from risk assessment?
That's at first, when you want to start a risk assessment, you have to understand your own organization's business model, how you interact with your client and all the other external stakeholders. And then if you understand them and the key business model, how you drive the business, then you know the key risk related to corruption, how they occurs and existed. Take the pharmaceutical industry as an example, because the general business model of this industry is you interact with HCPs and the government officials to help them to, sometimes you promote your products, sometimes just promote some general academic information and academic education information, help to promote and enhance their concept of diagnosis and treatment, and then they could help more patients to increase their use, not only for only our company's products, also for maybe some our competitors' products. That's our business model. It's like a triangle. We promote academic information to the HCPs, and then also promote the education information to both other HCPs and the patients to help increase, and then indirectly influence our product sales volume. Of course, not allowed. We directly promote that, and we should not influence the HCP by using other improper benefits. So it's all academic